Welcome to Nature's Place. This is a presentation about energy. I would like to present a few ways that people are creating their own energy at home, on the homestead, around the world right now, so that you can put in practice to help.
The Middle East is on fire.
The oil fields are in flames. The LNG's been taken out. Things are about to change. So we need solutions for the people. Did you know that Dr. Diesel, the inventor of the diesel engine, was a revolutionary? He invented an engine for farmers that could run on peanut oil. Was the original fuel for his engine. Did you know that to this day you can put peanut oil in your diesel car and it'll run? Now it's important to note that if you do that, you're gonna gum up your injectors and all that. Best is to make biodiesel with the peanut oil by mixing it with an alcohol methyl. The process of making biodiesel involves thinning out the oil by removing the glycerins out of it, and that cleans the fuel for today's fancier diesel engine. You will need to get access to that alcohol, but maybe we could look at making alcohol that's also done on the homestead by many people. My neighbor has a still. Don't put peanut oil in your car, it's not a good idea. Many people make biodiesel. That is a viable solution for many people, especially if you have access to oils, spent oils from restaurants or from any source, really. But beyond this, there's also natural gas that many people throughout the world produce today. And you can do it in your backyard, and it's very simple. So one of the big topics that we're going to talk about today is biodigestion. This is well known by gardeners and permaculture people. Composting creates heat. And if you look into it, it creates quite a bit of a heat. All over farms in the world are demonstration features where you'll have a shower that runs on a compost pile, or the water goes through the pile, heats up, and that's the water you get to shower with, and so the heat in that water is created entirely for free with a compost pile. This can be scaled up and can heat up your house, your barn, your garage, and it can even create natural gas. Biodigestion is a phenomenon that's used worldwide. India is very known for this. In fact, they have problems once in a while because people put balloons in their attic with a bungee cord for pressure to accumulate the gas that they make to cook with and to run fridges and freezers. And sometimes they blow themselves up. So people hear about it. I've heard about this since I was young. In Africa, people make biogas. You can make out of a few 45-gallon barrels and a few bits of pipe and bits of plumbing, you can make an installation that will create biogas, which is methane. Methane can be burnt to run anything that runs on propane. You need to adjust the engine or the machine that works with the propane for it to work with methane. You need a different air mixture with the gas, but it's fairly easy to figure out. There's plenty of YouTube videos that will explain to you how to alter a propane appliance to make it work with methane. It's also important to clean the methane by bubbling it through water or through steel wool and different ways to create scrubbers. They call it a scrubber is an installation that cleans gas for cleaner burning. So one great example of this that demonstrated the potential of all these techniques was done as far back as the 70s. There's a man, his name was Jean Pain. It's the French version of John. It's spelled Jean. In French it's Jean. and his family name was Pain, which means bread. Literally, it's spelled the same in French. So the guy had the name of John Bread. Jean Pain was a French dude. He was really a man of the people. He was a forester. He spent his time chopping trees and making wood chips. And he worked at cleaning people's acreages and different things like this. And at some point in the 60s or 70s, there was a bunch of wildfires in southern France. And the government paid to have great buffers cut out of the forest to stop the fires from progressing so far when they start. So they created fire breaks every so on. So that gave a lot of work to foresters like Jean Pain. And so he grew his business, and well, what happened is that he ended up with a huge pile of wood chips in his backyard. And then after the rains in the fall, and when it got cold a little bit in the winter, he realized there was a lot of heat there. He put his arm in it, and wow, you can't leave your hand in a compost that's fully activated. It will burn you. It's too hot. So the farmers, being practical, when Jean Pain saw this, no-brainer, we can use that energy. And so he started to create a system. People have called it the Jean Pain method. He had another name for it. But basically, he built a pill of compost, 6 foot high, 16 feet across, and in the middle he would put a tank with liquid manure in there, so cow manure with a lot of water to dilute it, make it into a liquid. This will ferment and create methane gas, especially in the middle of the compost pile, which is hot, so the methane take this way was activated very well by the heat of the compost pile. And so it created enough methane to run his fridges, cooking appliances, and then he also ran a small generator to create a bit of electricity for lights, and then he also ran his truck to deliver his milk. So, and then the compost pile would heat up his barn and his house. He got 4 liters a minute at 140 degrees. His technique was not quite well developed in today's terms, because today we can make a hotter compost more efficiently, more easily. So people have reproduced this technique now with a pile of compost 6 feet, a cubic 6 feet, so 6 by 6 by 6, and they get the same type of results. These compost piles will provide heat for 18 months. So you can build, you don't even have to build one every year. Now up north I'd probably build one every year and stack them. You build one at every year, and then for a while you have 2, and then you get extra compost, because we need compost to grow the food anyway. So the equation is simple. Human beings need food, right? To grow food, you should have compost, right? So then to have compost, you create heat. So you have energy too. The system of a home farm, of a homestead, is a self-sufficient system. If you own a few animals and you grow your own food, you have enough energy internally to supply all your needs with a bit of tech, of course. At Nature's Place, we like to mix proper design, ancient wisdom with tech, because you get the best out of every world. One thing that's really cool to understand is that a propane fridge or a freezer, the way they generate cool is way simpler than with all the other power sources. You don't need a generator. All that propane's a propane fridge or freezer is a little tiny gas flames that hits a chamber with ammonia, and ammonia circulates on its own and does the cooling on its own. It's exceedingly simple. It lasts forever. It never breaks. So propane propane fridges and freezers are way better than normal appliances that they try to sell us. So another thing that's quite important to understand about managing heat is not something that's available much to people who live in the south. You don't spend enough time with the cold to learn to live with it, kind of thing. But in the north, we've developed many techniques. Most of you will never have heard of passive solar, or if you've heard it, you have no clue what it can do. We have here in Canada, we have passive solar houses that barely need any heat generation to stay warm all winter. How is this done? It accumulates the heat of the sun during the day and then releases it into a thermal mass that keeps the inside temperature of the house very stable. And it can be cold and stormy for a few days, and the heat that's accumulated stays because these houses are well insulated and they have enough thermal mass that it takes a long time to change the temperature in the house. So every time there's heat available, they add to the thermal mass, which is a battery bank of heat, and then when it's cold, the system stays. And now sometimes we do get 2-3 weeks of minus 20, 30, and it's not that sunny. It's rare though, because most of the time in Canada, when it's cold for a long time, it's also sunny. That's why it works most of the time. Now all those houses up north will be equipped with a system that you can switch on to add heat to the system if you don't get what you need from nature for the few weeks of the dead of winter when it gets at its worst. But many houses in Canada, I tell you, do not need heat to be warm all winter. That's not creating energy, but that's saving energy. So simply by design, one can change the needs for energy. So there's even a thing called passive solar greenhouse. So you can even build a greenhouse in Canada that doesn't need heat to stay above freezing in the winter. Some of them are very efficient now. I know of at least 2 of them, but there are many now, and you can look this up. In the south, you guys have no idea what insulation is, or even in Europe. We were watching a Renault show, and they said they had a big problem with this Victorian house, and they wanted to insulate the attic, and they got themselves a film about 1/8 or 3/16 of an inch thick of bubbled plastic with aluminum foil on top, like a reflective. This insulates nothing. Nothing. This does absolutely nothing to insulate the attic of a house. Like if you had the air gaps and you laid that, you would stop air gaps. But it's a roof, so there's no holes in the roof, so there's no air gaps. So that paper-like substance does not do anything. On the other hand, 6 inches of sawdust will insulate something. People built houses in Canada here with that before we had fibers, wool, and fiberglass insulation pads, which are much more efficient. Now, insulation pads are really not that great. Better, straw bale is a super insulated system. And straw bale buildings last forever. A straw bale house, again, if we were to talk about tax and what's right for human beings and that live with nature for freedom and the right way to do things, we would all have straw bale houses, or a lot. And rammed earth houses. You can build a house out of dirt. In the south, it should all be that. You don't need insulation. Most of the time, the thermal mass, when it gets cold, it doesn't get cold for very long, so your house stays warm if it's just a block of rammed earth. Look into this principle of building. Rammed earth is awesome in the south. Up north, straw bale. Straw bale is the best building you can have. There are straw bale houses in Germany that are 500 years old. And if you cut up into the wall, the straw in there is still golden. It hasn't changed. And if you try to set fire to a straw bale house, you won't be able to. And if it's well built, rodents will never get in. And there's so many advantages. And all those advantages are problems with traditional houses. So there's a pattern worth noting here. As I was making this video, it became apparent that there's various technologies out there, there's various choices people can make. And what really helps in life is to... So there's a great big lie in our world, and it's predicated on this fear of nature and this distancing that man has, the idea that we should be separate, that nature is dangerous, and what it does is it stops people from seeing simple truths. There's a pattern that emerged as I was building this presentation, where if you pay attention to the first part of this video, you'll notice there's two texts that are explained in here, where there's the version that serves human, and then there's a version that does not serve humans, serves corporations. That's two tech that we use constantly. Cars, or engines. Most of us own gasoline engines. I do. It's the wrong engine. That engine profits corporations. The fuel is dangerous, it can explode. It's a hard process to refine it, costs more money. Now, diesel, you wouldn't think that because diesel is more expensive now, but diesel is a lot easier to produce, should be way cheaper, and it used to. Diesel fuel can be stored for a long time, gasoline cannot. There's so many reasons why a diesel engine is the right tech and a gas engine is the wrong tech. Same with fridges and freezers that I've just spoken about. All the fridges and freezers that we buy that run on electricity, that's the wrong technology. It's complicated, it breaks easily, and it costs a lot of money to run it. A propane fridge or freezer never breaks, easy to build, simpler chemistry, simpler built, lasts forever, costs less to run, and you can make your own gas easier than making your own electricity. You don't depend on high tech. Let me give you another example of tech, and it's regarding houses and parging. So there's two types of parging. The old traditional way, which was developed by humans for humans, and the new way, which does not help neither nature nor humans. And it's parging with limestone-based parging or with a cement-based parging. The difference is simple. Is a lime-based parging wall, if it cracks, you can heal the crack, because it's designed to heal itself. We do whitewashes every year on a lime-based mortar. Yes, it takes more maintenance. That's how they gotcha. They tell you to use the concrete-based parging method because that is not gonna it's not gonna need to be maintained every year. Yes, but when it cracks, and it does because wood houses, stick frame houses move a lot, you can't fix it short of ripping the entire siding and starting again, or doing a big patch, and it needs a high skill to be able to fix this stuff. On the other hand, with a lime-based mortar, all you need to do is whitewash it, and the moisture and the extra lime you're putting it in will recrystallize and literally fix the crack, heal it like it was never there. This is amazing. It's tech for the people and the tech that is not right, but that most people use. So which tech are you going to use? I named you 4 different things. The way we live, the way we have lived, consumes a lot of energy. But with a few tweaks, our life can be just as comfortable, or nearly, without consuming so much energy. And it takes thinking about our needs and designing properly. I strongly suggest to anyone who has not done this to go visit the forums at permies.com. There are amazing people gathered in these forums, and they have a million solutions. And it's just a matter of learning about what people have been doing. Because folks, for 50 years, 60 years now that permaculture exists, people have been preparing solutions for this exact problem. Other free energy solutions that I would like to include here are the ram pump. There, yeah. This is a simple mechanical device, well designed, that can pump water 10 times higher than the water drop that you have. Meaning if you have a flowing creek that drops on your land, drops several feet down, then you can pump water 10 times higher than that drop by a simple mechanical device that does this naturally. It's based a bit on the same idea that in Indonesia, in Malaysia, they have a lot of this. It's a free energy system, if you ask me, but they have water wheels that are turned by the power of the river, but their function is to pump water up. And they have these things, you can pump water as high as the wheel is. So if you have a 100-foot wheel, you can pump water 100 feet high. And you'll, of course, it's the momentum of the wheel turning that can scoop smaller amounts of water. Of course, you can't disturb the momentum. It doesn't pick up that much water at a time, but little cups at every rung of the wheel, and it brings water up, and it keeps turning because the river keeps pushing. There's always water, and so over a 24-hour period, these wheels can pump a huge amount of water uphill. If you bring water uphill for free, you can bring it back downhill with a turbine in it, and that's going to make you electricity. In BC, there are many lodges. Now this is grandfathered in most of the places. You could not probably get permits to do this easily nowadays, but you can tap the power of a creek, pop a turbine in there. All you need to do is create a water chute. So you create a flat river with some of that water, and you bring it as far out as you need to have a good drop, and then you drop it into your turbine. So you might need to create a bit of an aqueduct to get the water away from the hill and then drop it down. The world doesn't teach you this. The world tried to distance you from nature. Nature has all the solutions. That's what permaculture is. It's developing a permanent culture for the people. All the solutions are there. If you work against the current, against nature, it doesn't work. But if you work with it, it's amazingly easy. They talk to you about being green and being good for the environment. Making your own gas at home and burning it cleanly is a lot better for the environment than buying gas from the Middle East, especially with the bombing that's going on right now. Do you know how much environmental damage this is going to cause? This is actually going to change the climate on Earth for the foreseeable future. The amount of ash and soot and dust that have been thrown into the atmosphere is at least the equivalent of a major volcano at this point. And they're not stopping. They're going to create a volcanic winter, literally. That's going to affect crops. That is actually global cooling created by them, by this stupid war. Well, I hope you guys got a lot out of this, because there's a lot we can do. Just to give you one more hint, everything I've said in this presentation is said with words, right? Words are your keys. Many words I used, you can research them. Go find a good AI engine, put in biodigesters. You can learn everything you need to. You can use, I use Claude, Anthropic's AI. It's a miracle tool. It'll help you build anything you want to build. You heard something in my presentation, you say I want to do this, punch it into Anthropic's Claude and tell them you want to build this. How would you go about it, and what do you need to learn and get? And it'll guide you through the entire process. AI is here to free you if you're using it right. So go for it. Use my keywords and go ahead and build yourself some energy self-sufficiency. You'll benefit whether this crisis really becomes a big issue or whether this blows over and is shortly done. The more you become self-sufficient in energy, the freer you are, period. So, if you enjoyed this video, please come and visit us at naturesplace.ca. We have a brand new website. No one's commented on it yet. Put some comments on there. Share our links. Subscribe to my channels. I wish I had started a YouTube channel in the 90s. I have a lot of things. All that I've said here I can demonstrate. But I had a lot to learn still. And I've been learning my entire life. And I was waiting for an opportunity to be able to come out. Vibe coding has allowed me to do this. So now we go. If you guys want more information, if you want to benefit from the experience of a guy who's been doing this his entire life, help us. And the best way to do that is to share our content. So go ahead and share as much as you can, and we'll see you on the next one.
Machine is rising, wires replacing hands, fear spreading through the headlines, nobody understands. But I've seen the ancient patterns, cycles turning round. Every tool we've ever wielded made some shake the ground. From the wheel to the printing press, they said this ends us all. Yet here we stand still breathing, we never took that fall.
See the algorithm dancing, data streams advancing, corporations glancing, workers caught entrancing. But flip the script and listen, there's a diamond in the rough. The drudgery is lifting, the grind was never enough to hold the soul's true mission, the purpose burning deep. The jobs that numbed our spirits, we were never meant to keep. So the robot takes the register, the AI writes the brief. and the human finally rises from centuries of grief.
We are not machines, we are the dreamers of the dream. The light is breaking through now. Nothing's what it seems. Set free to find our calling. The soul remembers why. This is not our ending. This is how we learn to fly.
Your mission waits within you, encrypted in your blood. A contract signed in starlight before the ancient flood. The factory couldn't find it, the office couldn't see that you were always destined for something wild and free. Now the chains of repetition fall clanking to the floor, and the door that fear kept guarded swings open. Walk through that door.
Liberation, computation, soul emancipation, sacred innovation meets divine imagination. No more time clock prison, no more spirit sedation. This is the elevation, the great acceleration
of everything you came for, the reason that you're here, the gift wrapped up in circuits, dissolving all your fear.
Machines, we are the dreamers of the dream. The light is breaking through now. Nothing's what it seems. Set free to find our calling. The soul remembers why. This is not our ending. This is how we learn to fly.
Remember who you are.